Namaste, it's the Spiritual Daywalker with your tarot card reading for this new moon phase, and it's eclipse season. So Virgo, shit's gonna be turned upside down, and I know you like order, right? So if shit is restructuring, you probably have a hard time. However, you've been in the restructuring phase for a while now, so maybe this is exactly what you needed. So the world probably catching up to the structures you already redefined for yourself. I kind of get the sense that you're ahead of time here. It still might be challenging to adapt to the new system, even though you made the decision in advance to do so. Well, then, you know, if you actually have to live it, and then subtle things in your reality are readjusting, even if you planned it, it still can be interesting for you and like challenging to adapt. But you're going to do it well because you know you've decided to mix shit up, right? To change things. So you're sticking to your plan, right? That's what you do. That being said, it is a general reading, so if the message doesn't resonate with you, feel free to drop the message. If it does resonate with you, drop a comment, like, and subscribe. We want to do the DNA spread, which is like the Tree of Life spread, but with a little better numerology, and the soul coming into manifestation in the middle axis, and then the energies balancing around it. So in the spot of the zero, the spot of Keter, your soul, there you got death, right? Your soul decided it's time for transition, right? You are embracing that Scorpio energy, and that's confirming my idea of you being ahead of time, right? So in Scorpio season, I believe the solar eclipse in Scorpio as well, right? Saturn stations direct, which is basically good for all of us, and like it's moving on, right? And your soul already decided to adapt that Scorpio energy to go deep within yourself and restructure from scratch, in a sense. So you're anticipating this change, you're embracing it, your soul decided to embrace this change. Now let's see how you're manifesting this. In the spot of the 9, that is your challenge basically, or your takeaway from this reading, that is the Chariot in reverse. Well, you're struggling with the determination to pull through with your plan, right? Maybe because it feels stagnant. I mean, the Chariot is not exactly moving quickly, right? So it could be that you decided for change and now see yourself trying to adapt to it. Like what I said earlier, is like, be careful what you wish for. Now you got it and you have to readjust, and you're like, was this the right decision? I mean, like, I don't know. It feels good and all, but I don't know whether I can pull through with this, because that's what the Chariot does, is pulling through, right? Since it's on its head, it's like, yeah, you're struggling with keeping up that determination. However, let's see how you're manifesting this in your reality. In the spot of the 10, there is a 7 of Cups. Well, someone is not exactly being honest to what they're feeling. Why do I get the sense that it's not exactly you? Could be, like, it's both, right? If you feel like something is off and you trying to overlook it, and then your determination fades and you're like, what is wrong? Like, I'm committed to this, you know. I'll like, why am I lacking determination even though I'm committed to this change? That's because someone is like emotionally shitting themselves here, right? And since it's in the manifestation spot, I strongly get the sense that it's not just you, right? So whatever situation you got yourself in, they all want to be there, but maybe for the wrong reasons, kind of, right? So whatever it is, if it's like a relationship you're in, or maybe a business relationship, whatever, someone in that relationship is not exactly honest with how they feel about it, because they want to be, right? They want to be in it, or they want, but there's something deeper that is not exactly lining up, or that like they're attached to trying to feel a different way when they actually feel trying to feel a certain way when they actually feel a different way. That is the story of the Seven of Cups, right? Mm. It's like being attached to a feeling, and that goes both sides, right? So you want to feel a different way, but you're attached to a feeling, or you're attached to the idea of having to feel a different way. It goes both ways, right? Depending on what side of the spectrum you're on. If you're more if you got a lot of air in your chart, you're probably more on the conscious side, where you're like, where you're trying to convince yourself, right? If you're more on the intuitive side, in the sense that it's more subconscious, right, and you're just like more pragmatic, then it's something just feels off, and you're trying to figure out what it is, right? And you see it in your behavior, you see it in that chariot being upside down, where it's like, why is this so hard for me? That, that kind of question. Let's see how you're motivated throughout this experience. You start with your core motivation in the spot of the one, the thing that gets you moving, right? Like how you translate this decision from your soul spot. Three of Cups in reverse is like, yeah, it's a card for communication and community, and it seems like you're done with the company you keep, in a sense, like your circle of friends is kind of shifting. Maybe not exactly the circle of friends, maybe the activities, right? The way you engage with community and the way you're sharing your emotions. Um, well, I'm trying not to get lost in the narrative that I have in my head, about like opting for a new relationship, and that's what happens, right? When you're opting for a relationship where you're like, I want something stable, whatever, and then that Three of Cups is in reverse, so you're like less likely to go out and mingle with people, less likely to go party. That is that. Mm. But since it's in your motivation, that narrative flips a little, where you're like, actually, I don't want to party so much anymore. I feel like it's kind of draining my energy. I'm over it. I'm over the company I keep. I'm over this exchange that I used to indulge in, right? So this is your motivation, right? This is what makes you embrace this idea of transition. So probably whatever you've gotten yourself into, you got into it because you wanted to get out of something else. And that is a tainted motivation, right? So if you're not in it for what it is, but to get out of something else, most likely what you got is not exactly what you, well, it is exactly what you wanted, is getting out of this other thing, right? But if you can't pinpoint it, you maybe get it twisted. Let's see how this evolves further. In the spot of the two, this wanting to get out of this community posse party type situation. I'm not saying you're not partying anymore. I'm just saying like the way you party, the things you enjoy are kind of shifting, right? And how this is received in the spot of the two is the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords is trying to make a wise decision, trying to pull through. Is I get the sense that it's about routines, which is well, it's not exactly about routine. I mean, it's not earth energy, it's mind energy. So it's the idea of having to stick to certain routines, right? It's like being totally wasted and still having the feeling you have to go to the gym, but your body actually screams sleep, that kind of stuff, and you're like, no, no, but you know um, if you flip it, on the other hand, that simply tells the story of needing to, or like having the insight that you need to be true to yourself about that Three of Cups in reverse. It's like, this doesn't feel like it did anymore, and I only accept that truth. I mean, like, well, you have to be true to yourself, that, or you want to be true to yourself and others, that something is shifting, right? And you accept only a deeper truth and profound meaning, and you're sticking to that plan. That is the story of the Queen of Swords, right? So she's like, she's she's looking for the truth, getting insight about it, and sticking to that narrative, right? So that's like a little bit of control, a little bit of wisdom mingling, So in the spot of the three, that is the insight that you're gaining from this, like how you balance these energies out, and something that gives you a little direction. That's a Queen of Coins in reverse. Interesting. Interesting, because I was so hooked on the narrative that you're wanting to get out of the party aspect. Um, but that Queen of Coins in reverse tells a different story. It tells the exact opposite story. Like maybe you need to get into partying again. Okay, I don't want to flip it too much. Like the Queen of Coins, more abstractly speaking, Queen of Coins is in it for the long haul. It's something stable. It's earth energy. It's receptive earth energy. So it's in a sense double feminine, double receptive, like in investing, generating passive income, something that multiplies over time, seeking to be nurturing, right? Nurturing yourself, connecting with your true nature, and enabling others to do so. So this is basically what the insight you're getting about yourself is, that you're not exactly in touch with who you are anymore, because probably because you impose restrictions on yourself. Um, this can go either way. Like whether it is you wanting to get out of the party life and into a more stable relationship, or whether you want to get out of the more stable relationship and you know into connecting with the person you've been before that, it doesn't exactly matter. The card, like, you're gonna know, right? The cards just basically describe the core energies, the shift of those energies, meaning you realize that the way you're sharing emotions is not exactly aligned with your core truth, right? And you need to change the structure that you've imposed, or that the structure in your life, right? Kind of get the sense that this has it does have has well, it does have to do with people in your life somehow. I mean, there's two queens right next to each other, which doesn't have to mean that it's about a female. It can be a male also, but it is on the receiving end. Mm, it is like, yeah, a more passive receptive kind of energy. Let's see how this spins further, because I'm getting a little lost in the narrative of that relationship here. It doesn't have to be relationship in like romantically, it can be business also, where you're like, okay, I if I'm true to myself, I don't feel like I can express myself truly here. I'm getting out of touch with who I am. I need to change my reality, right? That is what is happening internally, right? Um, so surrounding that chariot in the spot of the 4 and the 5, that is your challenge, basically, like the da'at, the speaking in Hebrew now, um, the abyss, right? So your inner world crossing the border to the outer world, right? Your challenge role. In the spot of the 4, the thing that gives you security and stability is justice. You know that life is essentially fair. That doesn't mean that like your reality, everything in your reality has to be fair, but you do believe that there is a balance to it. You believe in karma, right? You believe that you reap what you sow. You believe that you get out what you put in, right? So whatever is off here, you do have the idea that you're somehow the culprit, right? It's like you're not blaming anyone. No matter who that Queen of Swords, and like the Queen of Swords is you, but who that Queen of Coins is, whether you're deciding against a relationship or whether you're deciding against the version you are in that relationship, you are looking at yourself right here. And it's probably the best description for it. You are looking at who you have become through the relationships or the company that you're in. And you're kind of proud that you made that change, but you don't exactly like where this is going, right? And the idea that gives you a sense of stability is that if you get out what you put in, that means you are kind of in control, right? That is always about balance, right? So karma is a good is a cool idea for you because you know you can restore balance. You have the capability of of like balancing the scale here. Um, so that is like if the idea of justice gives you a sense of security, that means you have no problem with legal matters. You feel like you feel in control of your reality, sort of, because you know that life is essentially fair and you know how to play the game, right? And you have no problem with rules and order, like the natural structure of things. You've accepted that, and is an idea that very much gives you a sense of certainty, right? What steers that up, on the other hand, and this justice card can transform into like being confronted with legal matters or whatever. But in the spot of the 5, stirring that up, is a 4 of coins. Interesting. Because a 4 of coins is a card for stability, longevity, resources. It's not in reverse, meaning like you feel too comfortable. Does that make sense? Like the thing that causes friction for you is feeling too comfortable. You're like, this can't be right. Like this is just too good to be true, and not in a positive way. It's like, okay, so where is the action, right? Where I mean, like it is fair, it is balanced, it is like you've wanted this, you've created this, right? But that 4 of coins is kind of rubbing you the wrong way, where you're like, okay, this is a safe bet, but why don't I feel it? Why am I not amused here, right? So that's why it's causing you conflict with that 4 of coins, because you feel like you've become too comfortable in a certain situation, and it's actually you feel like you're more adventurous than that, right? Or maybe not. Well, maybe it's less about like less about the party thing, right? Getting out of that narrative. It's more about the um, being true to your intention, right? Why are you in this, right? And if the reason you are in whatever situation is a 4 of coins, that means you're in for security. You're in to feel security and stability, um, but you kind of see through that. You don't want to be in for that, right? So the moment you feel too comfortable, you're like, wait, is this actually what I want? What I wanted, right? It's like I'm like that idea of, okay, so I'm saving money now. I've saved a lot of money now, but I actually want to spend it. I want to spend it on life. That kind of idea, right? Um, but it gives you the sense that it's fair because it works, right? You've proven to yourself that it works, but somehow you're a little dissatisfied with the comfort zone you got yourself in, right? So let's see in the spot of the 7 why you feel that way, because that 7 is your spot of identity, what you identify with, and what your character is attached to right now. And in general, that's a 3 of coins in reverse. Yeah, well, that is needing no one else but yourself, right? Independence. If the 3 of coins in reverse is like in your character spot, that means to you're kind of struggling with taking stuff to the next level because you think like you are able to do it, and you want to prove it to yourself that you're able to do it on your own. So you're not as likely to approach other people about helping you out, right? Because the 3 of coins is about networking and teamwork, right? Why? because the 3 is the number for a progressive insight about a subject matter, in this case, earth energy. So how to manifest something, how to take a project to the next level, and so on. And if that is on its head in your spot of the 7, in your identification spot, that means you're not as likely to ask others for help. And that's why you're struggling with the idea of teamwork, right? You don't feel like it, you don't you don't identify as a team player. So whatever situation you got yourself in, it's tough for you to share yourself. 3 of Cups right here, right? To share your emotions, to be open to those people, because you're not used to it, because your sense of identity is revolving around not having to share your thoughts, right? Maybe because you know your ticks and you like your ticks, but you know others find them curious, for example, right? Um, and you're not used to having to communicate that, right? Okay, let's go back to that partnership narrative for a second because it fits so well. It's like you're used to living alone and suddenly there's someone there and they're messing up your shit. And as a Virgo, you don't like when people mess up your chaos because everything is like, it might be chaotic, but everything is where it's always is. Everything is where it needs to be. And if it's not there, then your brain goes, ouch, right? It's like, you're coming home, you're just thrusting your keys into the corner, but it's the same corner you're always thrusting them in, right? And if they're not there because someone cleaned the place up, you're like, what the fuck? Your brain, like the fuse is burning, it's like, what the fuck is happening here? And that could be it, where you're like, yeah, okay, this seems good, but something is off because like I'm not used to this. I'm not used to having adapt to other people's ways, right? And you want to make it work, but at a certain point, you're like, eh, it doesn't feel right. Now, before I talk further in these metaphors, that is, you have to decide for yourself how these energies show up in your life, right? It's free will, it is your experience. So whatever comes to your mind is your answer, right? To the question you probably never asked. But so if I'm coming up with a narrative, try to like see the abstract of it. It might not be like the classic relationship where you might be that well, you have a new project where you suddenly have to work with a different company or different people in your team where you have to communicate processes that you never had to communicate to anyone else. And you're like, this like, this is like messing up my structure here, my 4 of Coins, right? So I love my chaos, right? And having to deal with this kind of structure and like that is, well, not exactly what you're looking for. And you're getting to that point here where you have to realize it doesn't feel right to you. Now what you make of this, let's see. In the spot of the 8, that is the energy that A, leads you to abundance, right? Or B, is abundant in your life, in your field right now. And I kind of get the sense that it's the latter. The King of Swords in reverse, well, it's interesting because you got the Queen of Swords and the King of Swords. And the King of Swords is in reverse. So it's very much about receiving an insight about another set of belief systems, right? So, like I said, the dealing with another human being structure, right? The King of Swords in reverse, where you're like, well, this refers to you and another person, both, and I get to it. So, referring to yourself, that is, you realized you were trying to embrace a mindset for the wrong reasons. It was smart but not exactly wise, right? So King of Swords is in reverse, where like you proactively tried to embrace a structure, but your Queen of Swords inside is the receptive side of that energy, where you're like, yeah, but if you're true to it, that's not exactly how you want to do it. That's how you think you need to do it. That is when the King of Swords refers to you. This can show up in your reality where you're just disagreeing with another another person's logic, right? Where you're like, yeah, they're trying to be smart, but I don't think it's wise. I don't like their arguments, right? And you are referring to that justice. You find it unjust what they're uttering here, right? It's tough for you to adapt to their type of logic. And this is coming from not having to explain yourself in the past too much, right? You're not exactly fond of explaining yourself, and especially not to someone where they seem to have a very different logic than yours, right? Um, but you want to be fair, right? Because that is what's giving you stability, is like, and an inner sense of stability. It's like you're looking for the truth and you're looking to be fair and wise here, right? So that's why you're not jumpy. You're totally not jumpy. Um, it's a very, not, I don't want to say stagnant, but it is a slow paced reading. Like all the energies, like you're coming from a death card, right? So that is like, okay, change is happening, right? But then in your energies, nothing is exactly moving. There's only queens here, right? And the only progressive energies, which is not even the chariot. I mean, even the chariot, it's a here in the middle, right? It is a progressive energy in a sense of inner determination. But yeah, on this card, it's a different thing. Here, it's actually moving, but most of the time in the decks, in the Rider-Waite deck, the chariot doesn't even have wheels. The chariot is your inner conviction. It is not, and staying strong, right? Committing to an idea and just like trying to pursue it, but it's not exactly fast paced. So it's a very slow paced reading. And that King of Swords also. King of Swords is not the fastest of all swords, right? But it's a masculine energy, so it's progressive. It is like trying to get shit done, setting up structures, making rules, that kind of energy, um, like trying to control and micromanage. But it's on its head. It's delayed. The energy is not exactly working for you. It is somehow causing conflict, and it's opening you up to abundance once you realize that it's out of whack, right? It's like you were trying to be smart, but you have to be wise. That is what you're learning here, and mm, and you're learning something about yourself, that this is not working, right? This teamwork, this network is not exactly working out for you, and it's not that you it's not only that you have to open up to communicate yourself and your ways to other people. It's not that you have to learn how to do that, and like pull through with this until you know how to lead a team. If you don't want to be a team player in that sense, if you want to be more of that lone wolf, if you need your space so everything has its place, then that's okay, right? For you, it's very much about like this realization that this is not exactly working out as you planned it, as you envisioned it in your mind, because you were trying to create abundance from a mind's perspective with a very aggressive approach, like controlling approach. But um, you know and you realize you get out what you put in. So if you're trying to be too controlling, you're gonna feel like you are too controlled, caged in, right? Because this is the energy you're embracing, and then like if you set rules, you have to follow them, right? And yeah, you're very fond of that. Like you honor the rules of the game, right? You are working well with those. That's why you have to pick your game carefully. Now let's see, in the spot of the 6, that is the insight that you're getting from this Three of Coins in King of Swords in reverse, which kind of makes you look at this Seven of Cups, right? Where you're like, this feels off. Yeah, but why? Yeah, because of the King of Wands. Because you want to feel proud of who you are, because you want to move, because you want to get active. And all this energy here is very stagnant, right? So this is where it gets uncomfortable, right? This is where the comfort zone is getting uncomfortable, because you kind of feel caged in by the structure you yourself created, because that King of Wands wants to come out. That's the one that doesn't need structure, because he just wants to thrust. Just wants to thrust their keys into the corner and like don't think about it, because they have their own way of doing things, whatever, So and it goes also in different ways. Like something within you is waking up through that confrontation with your initial plan not exactly working out, because something is missing here, right? What is missing is something that is a part of your true nature. That Queen of Coins in reverse, where you realize, okay, I actually have alienated myself, right? Somehow. But what I truly want to be is that King of Wands. What I do have to realize is that a sense of ambition is what got me into that pickle. So the King of Wands has, like, being confronted with that energy has an up and a downside. And I feel like on the more cognitive level, you're like, I need more fire in my life. I need more movement. I need something to happen. I'm getting not exactly bored, but I feel like I'm settling in, and it's not sitting right with you. And subconsciously, that very ambition is what got you into this in the first place, because out of this ambition, this wrong ambition, you were trying to be controlling and set up rules, right? So it's working on many levels. Subconsciously, or from the past, is like your King of Wands energy was out of whack, because that's why you manifested something that wasn't exactly aligned with your true self. And now you see, you want to rectify that energy, right? That ambition is lacking, right? The determination is lacking because the ambition is not true with yourself. And you want to be that King of Wands. You see that King of Wands within you. You see, like, that you need that, like, your ambition was led astray, right? And you actually want to be more fiery than what this reading shows, more progressive, more in that go-getter kind of attitude. Like, for some, this could actually be wanting to get back into the party life, wanting, like, missing single life. For some, that actually is the case. Well, it doesn't mean that you have to quit whatever it is that you're in, right? I'm never giving the advice of, like, quitting something or whatever. It just means that you're missing that part of yourself, right? And then you have to decide or analyze for yourself where this is coming from. Is it coming from you not wanting to explain yourself to anyone else, right? Because that King of Wands, it's not a team player. The King of Wands is it's a go-getter. It's an inspiring person. Very, very progressive energy, but it's not a team player, right? And maybe you feel uncomfortable in this situation because your fire energy is tough to tame, tough to contain. If you have the strong intuition that you need to change that about yourself, then you're exactly in the right situation. And that Seven of Cups is just you looking at how you truly feel about those things and getting your King of Wands, your fire energy, in order. For some of you, you actually need to embrace that King of Wands energy more, right? And whatever rules you live by, whatever you created for yourself in your reality right now, it has to give you the opportunity of being that King of Wands, right? So maybe coming back to that relationship analogy, but um, maybe it's that evening with the boys, or with the girls, where you're just like, okay, I need my day off where I can just like roam, right? Um, that could be it, right? So I'm not telling you to get rid of that Queen of Coins and embrace your like innate um, player hoeing around kind of energy, right? It's not exactly yet. Um, but you're working through that idea of yourself, that side of yourself. Like in the comfort zone you've created for yourself, you're suddenly confronted with that part of yourself. It's like, okay, do I miss this, or am I just not comfortable with this with this slow paced movement here, right? With settling in. And let me tell you, it's both, right? It's both. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So what you have to, and what you're going to um, do is take a look at how you truly feel. How you truly feel about whatever it is you're experiencing here, right? Which probably is a relationship, or it could also be a new job where you're coming from an agency, you've moved to client side, and suddenly there's all these rules and regulations that uh, just feel like they're caging you in. But on the other hand, they have good pay, they have employee benefits. That's like, it's very comfortable, but it's not that thrill of the chase of going into a pitch and not knowing whether you get a bonus, and so it could be exactly that. You like feels like you have like a safe bet here, but it feels a little too safe for your fire energy, and you're asking yourself why, right? You got to be true to yourself that you're just not a good team player even though you think you are, right? Because you understand them all. You understand that they have a different logic, right? But you like your own structure so much that it's tough to communicate and tough to adapt. So that is the downside of it. Now you have to ask yourself whether you want to make this work or not. The Chariot in reverse kind of looks like you don't wanna. It looks like your determination is fading, and but somehow you have to make that realization. Be okay that it's slow moving because something is shifting within you, right? That exact realization. So I cannot tell you whether the idea is to let that King of Wands die here, or let that situation you built for yourself die and embrace that King of Wands more. I kind of tend to the latter. I kind of tend to you build yourself a gilded cage, but it can be the other way around, where that gilded cage, so to speak, is confronting you with that other side of you that was over present for so long, and that is now in its last cry trying to convince you that you made a mistake, but you actually are quite well off, I guess. Yeah, I mean, the Four of Coins is like not exactly rich but safe, right? It can be rich also, like depending on what that means for you, right? um but it feels stable. It feels like comfort zone. You feel like this is exactly what you wanted to generate, but it's not exactly what you wanted, you know, on a deeper level. And and you, or it doesn't feel like you wanted it to, and you ask yourself why. Now ask yourself why, and what you find is your wild side and how you want to integrate it in your life. Whether you need to change this reality or change that part of yourself, something's going to die here. Something is leaving you, and it's going to be integrated, right? I don't see that you have to cut something out completely here, even though there's death. Um, but that death card basically just means Scorpio energy. So it means going deep into the emotions, or the emotions that trigger you, or what triggers those emotions, like deep into your subconscious self. So I could ramble on and on and on about this because it seems so clear to me, and there's so many ways of interpreting that in your life. But you probably already had like some associations with what that means in your life. It seems like you made a decision work, but it somehow doesn't feel like it's working for you, and you ask yourself why. Now, you're gonna get an answer. You are posing the right question. You're gonna get an answer. I That seems interesting. Virgo, let me know what what your decision is in that pickle, right? Whether you're choosing that King of Wands, or choosing to integrate that King of Wands in your reality, that fire energy, that passionate party animal energy, um, and how you go about this. If that resonated with you, drop a comment, like and subscribe. Check out daywalker-bali.com, because I'm building an online shop here, and like a brand here on Bali that's going to bring together different new age brands from the island. So that is that is a cool project. It's going to be on Kickstarter soon. All that stuff, I'll let you know. For now, take care of this, right? Take a good look at what you've created, and be a little proud that you've created this for yourself, because it seems like you want it, even though it doesn't feel like this right now, right? Beautiful. Virgo, thank you so much for being with me. If you're still here, drop a comment if you're like, okay, I can actually see whether you watched it to the end, right? Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, Virgo. I love you so much, and yeah, enjoy this experience.